Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to our friends across the world coming in for another episode of the Better Body Academy podcast. Super pumped. Big episode today. Lovely to have your company here this morning, guys. As you're coming into this one, let us know that you are here live. In those comments, get down into the comments and let us know that you're coming into this one, guys, because this is going to be a big episode. So I really do hope to deliver here for you this morning and just kind of touch on something that I've been doing a lot of thinking about recently. And yeah, I'm excited. So what's going on, guys? If you do watch this one on replay, please make sure that you hashtag replay in the comments so that we know that you've been in here, that you're getting value. And if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast on either Spotify or Apple, please do, so that if you miss an episode or you want to rewatch an episode, it is available to you and you will see it in your podcast feed. So guys, we're going to get started in 2 minutes. So how was your weekend, team? Look at all these guys streaming in. Good morning, everyone. How was your weekend, guys? What's going on? So 2 things. I had my beautiful little boy's first birthday. My God, how that, oh man, like how that time flies. It's just like most of you have kids, a lot of you have kids, and like I work a lot, but I also have a lot of time with my family, and I just like having Ocean was amazing. But it's totally different having a boy. I'm not saying better or worse, and we're going to get started in 1 minute, guys. I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just different. And when I look into my little boy's eyes, it's like it's a level of love that has no alternative, no opposite. Did any of you feel that when you had kids? I don't know, like, and does it, like, I'm definitely not an expert in parenting, but does that change over time? Does it get to a point where they're kind of big enough and ugly enough that look after themselves and you can't wait to get rid of them? I don't know. But man, like when I just like stop and grab that kid by the ears and just like look at him, and the innocence and preciousness in his face is just like, it just, oh my gosh, it's just beautiful to me. And I'm about to write a post about my greatest fear. And my greatest fear is that little man growing up. Yeah, Burns says, yeah, 100%. So that little man growing up in a world where he walks into a gym and 70% of the gym is guys taking steroids, and he doesn't know that, and he marks himself against that. And that's in society generally, right? And I'm almost doing another podcast here, but it's just like, it worries me, the whole comparison thing. And my role as a dad is to be the role model. And I just wish more men would recognize that their sons are crying out for a role model. And it's a hard thing to step up. But one of the true benefits of you grabbing your health by the balls, right, is not even for you. It's for your son, for your daughter, for your nephew. It's just like, man, it's just so far reaching. And so I'll touch on that in a post, but I do digress. On another note, and we're going to start the podcast in a second, I spent $300 on fat and muscle so I can teach you guys a little bit more about it. So it's kind of weird walking into my office. I've got these bits of fat hanging around my office. It's kind of weird. Anyway, besides the point, let's get started in another episode. Guys, I'd love you to comment along on the episode if something hits, or if you want to make a point. That'd be great. So let's get started on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to a Better Body Academy podcast. I stumbled that. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Today, I want to have a chat about this idea of mindset, because I've been doing some deep thinking over the last month about our program and the impact that we want to have in the world. This episode is titled, If Your Mindset Sucks, That's a Problem for Your Life, or Your Life Probably Will Suck Too. We've produced, guided hundreds of transformations already, but I don't feel comfortable in settling into this idea of, good enough's good enough. When you go into that ambitious growth zone of wanting to have more and more and more impact, you keep thinking to yourself, what can I get better at? What can I improve upon? How can I bring more people with me? I feel like, personally, I'm literally just getting started. What I mean by this is I have not even scraped the surface of the legacy that I personally want to leave on this earth. And it's exhausting, actually, when you're just constantly thinking about things, when I say constantly, just constantly thinking about how you can grow things, it gets exhausting. But when you're driven by passion and the love for the impact that you want to have in the world, you can't sleep on it. Now, over the course of the last few weeks, I've spoken to a bunch of you guys, our listeners and clients, about your journey. And regardless of whether the person is going incredibly well and they've been around for a while, or they're new, or they're struggling, there's a common theme appearing here. And that is the same feeling that I feel, that they are only just getting started. That seems to be the common theme of the people that are really, really successful with this stuff. I'm only just getting started. The kind of four people that immediately come to mind are Nick Friend, Xanth Friend, Sean Duras, and Troy Whitelam, simply because they've all been on the podcast recently and we've had a chance to kind of hear their stories. But it's clear to me that they've been successful in their fat loss transformation, but they see themselves as a student and they haven't even scraped the surface of their potential. And someone like Nick, who is now sizing up to run a marathon, or his sister that's preparing to do Kokoda, that is the potential of what's available to you. It's like something in their mind has fired up about their true capabilities and how small we've been playing for a long period of time. And in contrast, there's a lot of people who make this fundamental mindset mistake. Okay? Listen up, because this is something that I'm seeing over and over and over again, and I hate for you to make this mistake. And it is this. They start to believe that they have made it. Okay? When you lose 10, 20 kilos and you think, you know what? I've made it. I've done it. You're in for a really rude shock. Losing body fat it's pretty easy. But if you've not changed your mind in the process, you will always regain the weight because you haven't changed your core identity about who you actually are. And so the big mistake that I see people making is thinking that they have made it. And as a consequence, they stop doing the things that delivered the result in the first place. So let me know in the comments, guys, for those of you that are watching live, who has made that mistake, even if they've corrected it now. So you're doing really, really well. Progress is happening. You start to get confident about the progress. You start to look and think, oh my God, I am killing it right here, right now. And then something happens in life that just knocks you off for a second. And because you've taken your foot off the pedal, the weight starts to come back on again. Yes, that was me 8 weeks ago. So let me ask you guys a question. If you've lost weight and put it back on again, ask yourself, why did that actually happen? Let's go into your mindset for a moment. And how does this let me talk this out and see how this sounds. So you started doing the thing that caused the weight loss. So maybe you started drinking less or eating less junk food or moving a bit more, and then the weight naturally came off, right? And then you started to look into the mirror and you think, oh, wow, how good's this? It's working, right? And then a tough week hits, a colleague was off work, maybe you took on their workload, someone in the family was sick, particularly if you're a mum, or it was tax time in the business and you need to double your hours in the business for a period of time, or you had a baby, or whatever the thing was, that life jumped up and you had a week off, but then a week become two become four. Before you knew it, it was 3 months, and then you're back where you started. Give me a silent head nod if you know And I know every single person that has transformed, myself included, this is exactly what happens. The catalyst was you got busy, but the cause was that you stopped doing the thing that got you the results because in the back of your mind, you thought that you'd made it, right? And now that I've made it, I can stop doing the work and then the weight comes back on. And I can tell you straight up, like I have suffered this many times firsthand. I remember once I bought my first property, I had this like really strong goal that this is all I wanted to do. And then I didn't set another goal straight after that. And I woke up 8 years later earning 100K a year. And despite all the work that I'd done and the money that I'd earned, yes, I had a ton of bills and all that sort of stuff like everyone else does. I was in the exact same place 8 years later, despite the money, despite the work. Why? Because I stopped doing what was working and started to believe in my own ego. More recently, guys, I've shared a story with you guys that I looked up at my vision board here and realized that everything was there I had, but that was 2021. It's now 2023. And I hadn't set any goals, any follow-on goals. So all that was happening is I was getting back so the other day I just took my vision board and tore everything down. You know what? Things they always make sense in hindsight, but you need to first become aware of them. And I think a lot of us think that what separates us from our new identity or our new level or our next thing is just doing the work. I just got to work harder, right? I just got to work harder. And whilst that might be partly true, there is something that's far more important for me, and it should be the main takeaway from this podcast. The thing that separates you, Cherie, Bernadette, Lauren, Troy, Claire, Ash, Jace Williams, and the list goes on. The thing that separates you from your next level is one thing: your mindset. The way you think and act determines your life. And I am absolutely included in that list. Everything that you have in your life, good and bad, you created it. And this is the first rule to developing a better, stronger, and more powerful mindset, is recognizing and taking responsibility of the fact that everything, regardless of what has happened, is your responsibility. And naturally, people don't want to accept that. And if you have, at the moment, somewhat closed, fixed mindset, you will never accept that statement. But I can tell you, the quicker that you accept the statement, the sooner you grab back control of your life. When you take responsibility for everything, you step into having control. When you blame your partner, something that happened in your childhood, each of those things absolutely shaped you. But if you relinquish control to those things, you're going to feel like a victim for the rest of your life. So what does it actually mean what does mindset mean? Because I think if we keep speaking in like esoteric terms that no one understands, then we don't get any progress, right? We have to be able to relate to it and understand it. What is mindset? Is it something that we can even change? Like, what do you guys think? There's 25 people watching on live. What do you guys think? Do you think that you can change your mindset? The answer is, whether you believe it or not, you can objectively, subjectively perhaps not. Because whatever you believe to be the truth will play out. The moment you start changing your mindset, you start changing your life. Mindset. Mindset. Break that word down. Mindset. The things that you set or decide to focus your mind and attention on. When you decide you will be successful, when you set your mind to a vision and you lock onto it, the chances of you bringing that vision to life are great. It will take time, but you are setting your mind, not hoping in some distant world that something might come true. When you open to the idea that you can change your life, you're said to have a growth mindset. So, how do you go about developing a growth mindset? Like, how do you actually do that? And this is really the key point of this podcast that I really want you guys to understand. Number one, and again, I say this with very real transparency, that I have at times stopped doing this, and this has led to my regression in life. Number one, you need to prioritize your mindset above every single thing in your life, bar none. Above your partner, above your kids, above your work, above your physical health. It must be number one. That might sound selfish. Let me ask you a question. And by the way, you're totally welcome to your own opinion. Absolutely. This podcast is about me sharing the ideas which have helped me in my life. This might sound selfish, but let me ask you a question. What chance have you got of being the best mum, the best dad, partner, boss, employee, if mindset is 10th on your list, or it's just not on your list? Like, what chance? Zero. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend your beautiful son or daughter come up to you and said, Mum, Dad, I want to be a world-class golfer. What would you tell them? Like, what would you actually tell them? Because if you don't really know what to say, then what would you, like, that's pretty hard when they come to you and say, I have this dream, but you don't really know what to say. What would you tell them? My guess is that you'd probably tell them one of two things, or both things. If you're not a golfer yourself, or you're not equipped with the skills to teach them, you would say, go and get a coach. The second thing, so you know what to do, right? The second thing that you would say is, okay, how serious are you about this? I'm dead serious, Mum, Dad. Okay, you're going to need to practice every single day. Every single day. Is that what you'd tell them? Guess what? The same is true for developing your mindset. Most people wouldn't know the first way to go about developing a stronger mindset. So that's why you need a coach. But more importantly, most people know that changing their mindset is going to be very long, challenging, triggering, and so they think, I'll start when I'm less busy, which is never. And that's why our lives don't get better. Like, this is hard work. And the problem is when you start working on your mindset, you will realize how hard working on your mindset actually is if you didn't realize it already. Because here's the thing. Once you start working on your mindset, you open a fucking Pandora's box. That's exactly what happens. What actually is happening when you change your mindset? Well, you see your life through your own unique lens, right? That's shaped by all the experiences that have happened, your traumas, your successes, your conditioning, your parents. And this shapes your mindset. This is your mindset. The assumptions and the expectations you have about yourself and how your life and different situations should look. Here's a really interesting example. You might say, I want to change my mindset. But your current mindset is that you can't really change because you're broken in some way. This now becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for a never-changing life. You might say that I want to change my mindset, but you might think, I can't, like, that's not possible. I'm kind of too broken. I've got too much trauma. And so the acceptance of the idea that I can never change means that you will never change, even if you say you believe in mindset improvement. And that's very confronting. The first step in changing your mindset is to become aware of the fact that you need to change if you want to experience more than you currently want in your life. If you want to be able to think, if you want to be able to have and experience more, you need to be able to think and live through the lens of a man or a woman that is already achieving the thing that you want. Does this make sense, guys, or not really? Like, you have to be able to change your lens. Almost imagine like taking a lens off your camera, and when you put the new lens on, or you could talk about it with a set of glasses, and you put someone else's lenses on and they're blurry, that's because you're looking at their life or your life through their lens, and it's blurry at the moment. But the more that you wear that, your eyes will train to that focal length, and then you'll start to see what they see. Does this make sense, guys? Once you visualize, emotionalize, and truly act as if the thing that you want has already happened, your brain will simply go about ways of finding that reality, because it doesn't know the difference between. So think about like something like a skydive, right? You could jump out of a plane, and that's very tactile and very real. But if you were able to stop and think about doing that in a quiet room in your head, and feel all the fear and the tingling and the wind, and you were able to emotionalize that, the experience to your brain is exactly the same. Your brain is stuck in a shell. Cherie says, this is a great podcast, Jace. Thanks. Your brain is stuck in a shell, right? Your brain has no direct touch to the outside world. All it's doing is interpreting a message from the external stimuli that you're feeding it. Think about that for a second. Your brain is in this bony bucket, right, that we call our skull. It's not directly having the experience. It's interpreting the experience from our sense receptors, eyes, ears, mouth, nose, etc., right? And so, if you're able to stimulate this same thing through visualization and being intentional, you'll be able to create the same thing. This has actually been proven when they've done a study about, and it has to be, the conditions need to be right, where they showed a guy who thought about doing bicep curls intently as part of a training program for 6 weeks. And he only done it on one side of his arm, and he grew inches on his bicep by thinking about the stimulus of growing muscle. What the fuck? In the same way that your muscles adapt to the physical stimulus that you give them in the gym, your mind and brain adapt to the thought signals through your intentional, repeated mindset work. In the muscles, the physical stimulus comes from sending signals, which creates larger and more muscle fibers, stronger nerve connections, which improve the skill, increased hormone secretion, and the overall muscle improves because of the force that it's subjected to. It's not really that different for the mind. The continued mindset work, going through your limiting beliefs, facing your sabotage, your trauma, visualizing and emotionalizing what you want, causes the brain to set up the hardware to support what you want. This is called neuroplasticity. Has anyone heard of this before? That's what we mean. We mean changing the brain with thought. And if you don't think it's possible, simply look up neuroplasticity on Google and you'll get billions of articles on it. Now, if all of this sounds like a lot of hard work, I'll make 2 points. 1, you are dead set right. It is a lot of hard work. And 2, this is the reason that most people wake up and feel the same every day about their boring life. Because doing the mindset work is a daily task. It is really hard, especially when you're tired, especially when you've got kids that wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and it requires focus. It is so hard. But the level to which you are willing to go determines what you get. By challenging yourself with these new experiences or perspective, you can actually rewire your brain and form new connections or new mindsets at any point in your life. You just need to commit to them, okay? And it's hard, and it takes time. Let me explain the reason, as we bring this podcast to a close, that I'm bringing this up. We've been running Better Body Academy for about 4 years now, okay? Every time that I see an opportunity to make our program better, I act, because I owe it to you, our clients. This is the reason that we have scaled up the number of coaching calls that we're doing with me running them for the moment, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I know that if I can get your ass onto a coaching call, when you show up for yourself, you break new ground. If you are stuck right now and you happen to catch this podcast, the irony of this is the ones that listen to the podcast are also the ones that come on the coaching calls that are also the ones that are winning. Super frustrating. Get on this week's calls. Why are you hiding? Like, suffering alone is like, there's no courage in that. It's kind of like trying to punch your way out of a plastic bag. It's just tough. So in addition to these coaching calls, guys, the next thing that we'll be launching is an advanced program, which predominantly deals with mindset. We're doing away with our old 12-week mastermind that we do 1 or 2 times a year, put simply because I've come to the conclusion that 12 weeks of attention is just not enough. It's just not. You have people like Linda Janes and Terry Holden and Nico Koshia and Nick Friend that just break through. They just break through, right? But I don't want people dropping off after 12 weeks of the next thing. I know that the longer that you stay really forcing yourself lovingly to overhaul your mindset, things going to change. This program will be by application only and will involve a weekly mindset call, big trainings around mindset, implementation activities around mindset, a separate Facebook group, and for the people that are in it, it is going to change your life. Straight up. Not only because of content, but because of forced implementation to deal with your mindset when you can't do it at the moment because you're so busy. But when you forced yourself to do it through accountability, this is when stuff starts to change. Okay? I know this because I sat on the fence with this shit for 10 years myself. The moment I got a coach, my life changed. It's less about content and more about forcingly doing the work surrounded by the right people that really, really, really want it. And I feel like I'm doing an injustice to my clients to not have this opportunity to help me get what's in my mind into yours. Because if we spend enough time together, you will pick up on this shit, right? Just the way that Nick has, just the way that Terry has, and the list goes on. In addition to this, for any of you that are interested in playing on the very highest level, I'm also going to start offering myself on a one-on-one VIP opportunity where we do individual regular Zooms, one-on-one, where I grind your shit, right? Because for me, people will play at the highest level if they're given an opportunity to do so. And for me as a coach, I don't want to just have another 5 or 10 years pass where things are good, things stay the same, we get great body transformations, all our friends go, wow, you look good, and then slowly you drift away, the weight comes back on. That to me is just, that's not true change. True change comes when you're someone like Christy Keenan, who has been dealing with weight issues her fucking entire life, being bullied for it, gone through separations, dealing with 2 kids as a single mum, and as a consequence of going deep with her in our former mastermind program, she goes out and applies for a job that's well beyond what she deemed her capabilities and gets a 3 times pay rise as a single mum. That's the fucking shit that matters. And it's not physical change. The physical change will be a byproduct of you turning around what's happening in here. Hence the reason for the rechange of a longer mindset-based program. Hence the reason why I'm doing my all posts, emails, trying to get you guys onto the coaching calls midweek. I can't do the work for you. But if you show up and start breaking down those old barriers that tell you you can't, you will eventually win. And whether you're listening to this on YouTube or our free group and you're thinking to yourself, fuck, I need more of this shit. I'll tell you something, you absolutely do. Because if you're just a product of the community that you're spending all your time with, it's not that they're bad. It's not that they're bad. Your friends and family are beautiful humans that you think want the best for you. But the reality is, there's so much time suck. And if you're putting your mindset at the bottom of the list, no wonder you're struggling. It has to be top of the list. And when you start to walk in the shoes of a mum or a dad or a partner that feels entirely aligned with like, I can be something here that is fucking far above what I've been playing at for a while, your life is going to change in a big way. And something's going to happen, like Steve Byron, another product of our mastermind, whose daughter's something like 5 years old, but has seen her dad repeatedly doing this shit over and over and over and over again. He's lost 30 kilograms. He's got a job and a pay rise. And what's happening? She went yesterday to the gym with him for the first time. She's 5 years old. Prior to this, I'll finish off on this note, and it might round out the podcast as to why we started with this. I made the comment about my son. I was watching a podcast. I don't know if any of you would know of Joe Lindner. Super famous, like 8 million, 9 million followers on Instagram, like super famous bodybuilder that died approximately a week ago of, I believe it was heart failure, but it's not conclusive. 30 years old, open steroid use. And I just think, like, in this industry, I just fucking, there's so much brokenness with the approach. So much brokenness with the approach. We see these people and follow these people and press subscribe on these fucking people that make us feel worse and are not being transparent with the way that they're getting the results. Like, I want my life to be a legacy for, hey, you know what? When you just realize your potential and your son or daughter gets to see that, and they don't need to go down the steroid line or be confused about why they don't feel or suffer the same pains that you have your entire life. Is that the greatest gift that you could possibly give to your kids? Like, on a fucking whole nother level? Gets me excited. And I'm going to leave it there. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming at you on a Monday/Sunday, very hot and sweaty, because I'm passionate about this stuff. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Okay, team. Any comments? There's still 22 of you watching live, so I'm guessing this is probably hitting a little bit. Any kind of initial thoughts on the stuff we covered in this podcast? Does anyone think that their mindset is so unbelievably good that they're literally like unbreakable now? And I'm asking you to raise your hands if that's you, so that I can hang out with you more, so that I can talk to you more about how you achieve that. You know, this mindset stuff, guys, it's so challenging, very pertinent, yet getting there, great. I can't, for some reason, Facebook's dropped off the restream stuff, but yeah, getting there, but come hang out anyway. Yeah, so this is it, right? I'm feeling really good. Yeah. Guys, like, it's constant. This is it, Nick. This is the point. This is the comment here that is so relevant. It's constant work. Remember during the podcast, Nick, that I said, you stop doing the work, you stop. Okay. And unfortunately, I think what people think is once they've done the work once, it's with them forever. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The moment you stop doing the work, you stop getting the results. Like, it's a 1-for-1 correlation. Just arrived at the gym. Yeah. It's constant work. And this is the reason why it's tiring, and most people don't want to do it because they don't know what to do, and they've just realized that it's a time constraint thing, right? It's like we don't have an unlimited amount of time. my key point, guys, would be that given that you don't have an unlimited amount of time, do you want to work really slowly and try to battle these things by yourself? Or do you want to work as efficiently as you possibly can? And I call it a top-down approach. Excuse me. What I mean by this is, if you think about like all of the things that you might want to improve in your life, right? Let's just bang out some things that we might want to improve. We might want to feel more happy. We might want to be a better partner. We might want to eat out a little bit more. We might want to eat a bit healthy. We might want to learn to read food labels. We might want to detach from the scales. We might like to teach our kid how to ride a bike. We might like to take a holiday, have more leave, blah, 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 right? That's each of those things. To think about that becomes very fucking overwhelming, because this is a bottoms-up approach. We're thinking about all of the things we want or want to experience or achieve, and we're going to work from the bottoms up to achieve those things. And so what we do is we go after our health, but these things drop. Or we go after more money in our career, and then these things drop, right? Because you don't have you got two hands, right? Things drop off. This is why the overwhelm gets you every time. Sheree, classic example, and it's everyone, right? Myself included. Okay, I'm never immune to the same things that we're all going through this growth journey, right? And so this is called the bottoms up approach. The top down approach is this: if I can work on my mindset, what I set my mind to every day, my intentions, if I can get that right, almost through gravity. Like, I work on my mindset, it starts to flourish, and it releases out of this closed fist. It releases through the entire system. It flows through the entire system. So rather than me thinking about each individual task that I need to try to get right from the bottoms up, if I get my mindset right and I continue to work on my mindset to continue to get it right, it has a trickle down approach, which basically means that it filters in. Think of it like what's it called? It's not checkers. What's it called? That Connect Four? Or is it Connect Four? I can't remember what it's called. Where it has like where you put the coins in the top and it just falls down to the bottom of whatever is there. So imagine that's a great analogy. So imagine you got this massive Connect Four board that has like all of the different things. You could try to put the coins up from the bottom and try to keep pulling them up, and they keep dropping, right? Yeah, Connect Four. They keep dropping out because you've only got two hands. But if you start putting the coins down from the top, and it filters down to each one of the different levels, that is where you get great progress. And it's because you're working from a top-down approach of developing the right mindset, the self-belief, the asking yourself the questions, well, why not me? Like, why not me? Why am I not entitled to this? Well, you're not entitled. You're definitely not entitled. You've got to work for it. But it will only happen if you get the mindset right, because whilst you continue to try to juggle all of these things, and then at the side, you've got like people yelling at you for your attention. So you're at the bottom of this like wicked Connect Four, like Connect 16 piece, and you're trying to juggle all the coins at the bottom. And then you got these people yelling at you from the side saying, hey, Sheree, can you help me with this? And hey, and there's your boss. And then it's like, oh, fuck. And then we end up, now Siri's yelling at me. And so we end up just like dropping the ball completely, right? This is why we have to start with the mindset. If we get it right from the top down, bang, like things happen. It requires work, but we get there. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you there. Hopefully this has been beneficial. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Let's have a beautiful start to the week. Appreciate you. Chat soon.